And no matter what you share with me, we're in it together.
Yes.
No matter what you share with me, I love you and we're going to see this through.
One thing that our pastor says that I love in reference to the community that we have, he says, one fights, we all fight.
One fights, we all fight, baby. Come on.
And I believe that. I believe that with our friendships, that's how it should be. Like, we shouldn't be scared away if a couple comes to us and says, hey, we're really struggling in this area. It's like, all right, we're going to battle with you.
Yep.
We are going to battle in the spiritual and we're going to battle in the physical too. Like, what do you need? What can we do? Can we take your kids? Can we show up? Can we schedule some counseling for you? Like, I mean, we've got to have people like that in our corner. Hey, welcome back to the Greater Marriage Podcast, where we love to talk all things marriage. We are the Millers, and we love talking about marriage because ours sucked really bad in the beginning, and we put in a lot of hard work, and we love nothing more than seeing a marriage flourish and grow.
Yes.
And I think so many times within the realm of marriage, it's husband and wife, and gosh, there are so many issues and things that can come up, but then there's also a lot of external things that can affect our marriage, external influences that are beyond our control. But some of those external influences are in our control because we get to choose them. We get to choose who speaks into our marriage, who speaks into our life in general. And I remember hearing this stat one time years and years ago. We were very first married and we're like, oh, let's do a marriage small group at our house. And we did, and with some other couples, we're working through and digesting things that, gosh, we so needed in that time, other couples needed in that time, and it was a really cool season for us to just kind of grow as a group. But I remember in studying for that, reading a stat about marriages, and it said that couples who are married and plugged into a small group community or a tight-knit group of friends have a 50% less chance of divorcing than couples who don't.
Shout out to that small group from Wentzville, Missouri that, 12 years ago, we were newlyweds when we jumped in that group. And just some foundational truths. We learned some things in that small group, not only from the curriculum that we did, but also just from sharing our hearts with those couples and those couples being open and honest with us and vulnerable. And man, what an incredible time. I know that we went through a lot of hardship in those first couple of years and tough seasons, but I do remember having those couples to lean on, and we still have great relationships with several of those couples. 12 years later, we live 400 miles away, and still we are close to some of those couples just because of that time in our basement in the house in Wentzville, getting together and learning together and pouring our hearts out and just being open and honest with one another. It changed our marriage, and I think it changed just our outlook on what was possible, and it allowed us to see that we didn't have to do it alone.
That right there is exactly why that statistic is so powerful.
Yeah.
The divorce rate is 50% less because of exactly that you have a space to be vulnerable and really just to kind of take the blinders off. And I think the enemy wants to isolate us and make us feel like our marriage is beyond repair. Like other couples aren't going through difficult things. They're not hitting their heads on this. And to be in a space with other couples, whether it's a small group, whether it's just a tight-knit group of friends or neighbors, or just people that you go to church with, people who are like-minded, just being able to see, okay, it's not just us. Like, we're okay. We're not losing it here. Like, we're going to make it. We can get out on the other side stronger, better. And to hear other couples, even on the other side, to just encourage each other. Man, there is so much to be said about that. And so today, what we're talking about is friendships. How do the friendships that I choose to have in my life affect our marriage? How do the friendships that you allow in your life affect our marriage? And just the importance of making sure that you're picking the right friends and how to do that. I think, there's so many great people in the world that are ready to give advice, but that's not always great advice. And so we are very careful with who we let speak into our life. And today we're going to share with you some really practical points of what you can look for in a friendship. Not that you can't have a broader circle of friends who you do life with, but really that core, that tight-knit core that you are vulnerable with, that you do open up with. I think that there are some very specific things that we need to look for in those people.
I agree. There's three types of relationships in our life. There's relationships that pull us up. There's basically a hand up, a hand around, right? People that you're doing life with, that your arms kind of around their shoulder, you're in the same stage, and then the people that we're helping up, right? And so we should always have kind of those three relationships. Who are you assisting? Who are you pouring into? Who are you helping bring to the next level? Who is going through this life with you? I think that's the relationships that we're talking about specifically today.
Right.
Who is with you, but also encouraging you and allowing you to see that maybe they may just be going through the same things. And then who's pulling you up? Who's able to look back and say, hey, we've been through this and we've come out on the other side victorious, and we can help lead you in victory and point you to the word and point you to what God did in our relationship, and know that he's the same God yesterday, today, and forever, that he doesn't play favorites, that whatever he did for them, he will do for you, and that his favor and his grace and his mercy is good, and his mercies are new every day. And so I think we need all three relationships. But today specifically, we do want to talk about those friendships and relationships that you are shoulder to shoulder, side by side with these people. It's not like every single relationship needs to look like this. You can have people that you know is going to be a pull on you, that you know you're going to have to encourage them, that you know that you're going to pull them up. Those are healthy relationships to have. We need to be able to encourage others because we will be encouraged. We talk all the time about how God tells us to remind him of his word so that we remind ourselves. When we remind others of the goodness of God and what he's done in our story, right? It reminds us of how good God has been to us. And it reminds us of what all we've been through. And I find that sometimes those are the most life-giving relationships, just in that moment when the Holy Spirit is reminding you and reminding them of what he's done. Those are important. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today we're going to talk about just the power of friendships and the friendships that your marriage really needs to thrive and have success and find victory in tough times.
Yeah. I think a question that you could ask yourself just to kind of gauge where your friendships are would be, what do your friends say to you when your marriage is struggling?
That's good.
Are they speaking life over your marriage, or are they bashing your spouse along with you? Are they just kind of deep seeding those roots of bitterness that maybe are already there? Are they just saying like, hey, I'm on your side, it's us versus them? Or are they pointing you back to reconciliation? Are they reminding you of the good qualities that your spouse brings to the table?
Yeah, that's really good. I think that, again, we always want to protect the way that we talk about our spouse, but we also need to have people that we can go to and talk about our relational, what we're going through in our relationship. And so I think that you and I try very hard to protect the way we talk about each other, but we are open and honest with a close group of people that we have learned to trust because of the way that they speak when our marriage is struggling. And I think that we've had times where we got a little loose-lipped and maybe shared something with somebody, and in their response just thought, you know what, I shouldn't have shared that. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have said that about my spouse. And really that kind of opens the wound even more because, we talk about, it's like going to your mom and saying, man, Dustyn did this and he said this and he's been so lazy and he comes home from work and just lays on the couch and whatever. You go and you just kind of rant about how awful I've been, which your mom loves me and she would never think ill of me.
She may like you better than she likes me.
But, you may go and tell your mom all of these things, or some fight that we had, or some, disagreement that we had. And of course, you're your mom's baby girl. Like, she's going to fight for you and she's going to want to be in your corner. And then you come back to me and we work it out. And I come to you and I say, babe, I apologize. That is not what I meant. And we had this moment of repentance and we forgive one another and we come out of it. Your mom isn't a part of that.
Right.
Whoever you talk to isn't a part of that moment. And so they are holding on to everything that they last heard. And if you're not going to go back and say, hey, things are improving. Hey, they are repentant. Hey, this is getting better. Like, you've got to make sure that you share the victories and not just the losses and the hard moments. We've got to be able to, if we're going to pull those people into tough moments, we've got to also make sure that we're careful about who we share it with, but also that we go back and share the win and share what God's done.
Well, and I think if our friends, if we bring them into this place of bitterness and their hearts get hard, in the process, it just kind of prolongs that opportunity for healing.
Yeah.
Because maybe I come back to you and we work on things and we're taking steps forward in healing. But then I go back with my friend who I had already ran my mouth to, and they're like, but remember he blah, 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 blah. And they bring up all that stuff, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, wait, yeah.
I don't know the dudes do that, but yeah, I see it.
Girls do.
My dudes would be like, what? What fight? You guys had I may remember you saying that.
So maybe this episode is more for the wise.
Not true. Not true. No, I wouldn't be the man of God that I am today without the friends that I have. We wouldn't be where we are in our marriage, in our ministry, in our personal lives. Our lives would look so incredibly different if we didn't have the amazing community of friends that we have. And I am so incredibly grateful for the friends that we have. But there have been moments where we felt alone, where we didn't have the community that we have today.
I was just going to say, I don't feel like that was always a strong point. Now,
It wasn't.
Now, if you would say, what's your favorite thing about where you live? It's like, well, it's not the beach in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's not the mountains in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but it's the community. The people that we have found that we've chosen to do life with, there's no one like them.
Yep.
And there
Totally
was
agree.
a season in our life that I specifically felt like I was really lacking in that area, and voiced that to you. And you took a stand of faith as the leader of our home, and you started praying things over me and praying friendships over my life, and that I would be able to be that same friend to other people. And now we get to walk in the fruit of that.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful. I'm so incredibly grateful. And so that's a word of encouragement to you. If you feel like you're lacking in friendships, go to the Lord about it. Tell him what you want, what kind of friend you want. Maybe even write it out, and then start putting yourself out there. Start being that kind of friend for someone else. If you want a friend who shows up, when you're having a hard day, or who sends you a text just to check in on you, you got to put that out there too.
Yeah.
We can't just be selfish and sit back on our hands and expect other people to just show up and serve us. And, this is the me show. It's like we've got to pursue friendship on our side as well. And sometimes show people the type of friend that we want to have in our life.
Yeah, we are living in the community that we prayed for.
Yeah.
And we are living in the friendships that we prayed for. And not only that, we've had to learn how to be great friends, right? And we've missed it.
Oh, for
and,
sure.
And, it's like I've definitely been the friend that said, I'm going to pray. I'm going to pray about that, man. I'm going to pray for you. And then it's like you go home and you forget about the conversation that you had. And it's like, I remember a point in my life where I let a friend down and I said, you know what? I'm never going to say that again unless I mean it. I'm never going to say, hey, I'll pray for you, or hey, I'm going to pray about that unless I mean it. And I genuinely try very hard to pray in that moment. Like, hey, let me pray for you so that it reminds me. So there's a spiritual connection here. I've already attached my faith to what you're going through. And then when I walk away from this conversation, I'm going to write that down, and I'm going to continue to pray about this, and I'm going to check back in. Right? Like, it matters that you check back in with your friends. We're going to talk about some of the kind of guidelines that we prayed through on what we wanted in friends. And I think that the reason we have the friends that we have is because of the lack that we had. And God heard our prayers and answered those prayers and surrounded us in community that we didn't even know existed. And so it's not like we were just born into this. Man, we worked for it. We put ourselves out there, and we prayed, and we asked God for these people. And so hopefully today we can give you kind of a list of things that you can pray for and begin to believe for in your friends. But why is it important about how your friends speak about your marriage? Proverbs 26:20 says, without wood, a fire goes out. Without a gossip, a quarrel dies down. Or without gossip, a quarrel dies down. I think that it's easy for us to want to go find some more wood for the fire, or some wood that maybe benefits our side of the fire, right? It's like we've got this fire stoking on the inside of us toward our spouse, and it feels good to be able to release that and then somebody blow on it and give it some fresh flames. And it's like, oh man, you're right. You're right. What you said was right. They're wrong. And like, we want to hear that.
We want to be validated.
Yes, exactly. Our flesh wants to be validated, but if your friends speak negatively about your spouse, you need new friends.
Yes.
You need friends that will look you in the eye and encourage you to be better, not encourage you to find a new spouse, or encourage you to go fight differently in a negative way, right? You need friends that will look you in the eye and challenge you to be better.
Yes.
It's a big deal.
And it doesn't always have to be, rude. I think that sounds like, oh man, so what do I just need friends who just put me in my place all the time? Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
But also that can be done in a gracious way. It can be something like, man, I am so sorry that happened. And I'm so sorry that he made you feel that way. What initially made you fall in love with him? What do you think could have been going on in his world at work that day that maybe caused him to just, take it out on you? I think sometimes just offering a different perspective, because our feelings want to drive the bus.
Yeah.
So when we feel offended or hurt or whatever, we're not thinking about all the other factors that could be playing in. The fact that our spouse could have had a horrible day at work, the fact that they could have received some bad news, the fact that they were up with a newborn all night long. Like, we're not considering all of that. Our flesh doesn't want to consider all of that. And so, of course, we need to discipline ourselves to be that way. But when we're not, we need friends who can remind us of those great qualities that initially drew us to our spouse, those things that they know because they've heard you say about your spouse. There's so much to be said about that, about speaking well of your spouse in front of your friends.
Yep.
If I'm talking about how great of a husband you are, how hands-on you are, all those things, and then I go to a friend to rant, they're going to have that ammo in their head already of, yeah, but he's so helpful. Yeah, but look at all this that he does for you. And so it is important to make sure that we are building our spouse up with our words to other people.
This is another reason why I think it's important for couples to find couples that they like. Because the friends of mine that I feel like give me the healthiest words of encouragement are my friends that know you well, and my friends that know us well. Because they can look at our relationship, they can look to you and say, Dustyn, I know Heather. Like, that's one of my wife's best friends or whatever. Like those friends that we are friends with the couples, and it's not just my guys and your girls, right? Those couples that we are close with and kind of like in covenant with and close to, those are the ones that really can encourage me the most in those moments, because they could say, hey, Heather wouldn't mean it like that, or that's not what her heart is, or you know your wife better than this. I remember I was on the phone with a friend the other day, and he said, hey, I know you both like the back of my hand. Like this is like someone that I trust with my life, and he knows us both so well. He was able to speak directly and use discernment and speak directly into that situation, because he knew how you felt, he knew how I felt, he knew why you were saying what you were saying, why I was saying what I was saying. It's like, it was so clear to him because he just knows us both so well. He doesn't just get my opinion. He doesn't just get my side of the story. And so, and I think it helps that when there are couples you can share with, I'll allow them the trust to be able to speak to one another about it too, right? Like the couples that we really, really trust, I don't mind if he tells his wife anything that I told him. And like I would hope that they trust us in the same way. I would trust that my friends, I would hope that my friends trust you as much as they trust me. And so find couples that you guys both get along with, even if they are, even if it takes a little bit of work to get there. There have been guys that I'm extremely close to that I'm like, man, I think you love their wife. And slowly but surely, we begin to hang out, and it's like, man, those have become some of our closest friends. Or same with you. You're like, man, I think you love, her husband. We need to get together as a family. And it's like, the more that we get together, it's like, man, I do love that dude. And that he has become one of my guys. And it's like, as we get closer to those couples, it just helps bring some wholeness to that relationship. Yeah, so it's not just me sharing with my guy friends and you sharing with your girlfriends, and there's no perspective either way. It's important that you're friends with couples.
Yeah, that's really powerful. So I'm going to circle back a little bit to that time in our life when we felt like we were lacking in friendships. And I remember what you started praying over me is that I would find friends who love, refresh, encourage, and challenge me. And that has stuck with me. I mean, we have shared that with countless couples in premarital counseling. Yes. Friends who love, refresh, encourage, and challenge. Do you want to speak to why those specific things? Why is that important?
Yeah. So I think that if I leave someone's home, or if I leave a conversation with someone and I don't feel like they love me, right? I don't feel like they have my best interest in mind. I feel like they really care about what I was saying. If I feel depleted and not refreshed, if I feel discouraged if I feel like they just kind of agree with everything I have to say, what does that do for me? Right? Like I want to leave knowing, man, no matter what I do, no matter what I share with that dude, I know he's going to love me no matter what. And I know that he's going to maybe not support my actions or my attitude, but be in my corner and help fight for me, even if that is bringing correction to me. Right. And so I want a friend that loves me, that I know is going to love me with a brotherly type of love, but also that godly type of love where it's like, hey, you can't share anything with me that I'm not going to fight through with you. We have shared some very, very, very hard and honest things with friends.
Yeah.
And we have had friends do the same with us. And I want to make sure that I am always that friend that says, hey, no matter what you share with me, we're in it together.
Yes.
No matter what you share with me, I love you and we're going to see this through.
One thing that our pastor says that I love in reference to the community that we have, he says, one fights, we all fight.
One fights, we all fight, baby. Come on.
And I believe that. I believe that with our friendships, that's how it should be. Like we shouldn't be scared away if a couple comes to us and says, hey, we're really struggling in this area. It's like, all right, we're going to battle with you.
Yep.
We are going to battle in the spiritual and we're going to battle in the physical too. Like, what do you need? What can we do? Can we take your kids? Can we show up? Can we schedule some counseling for you? Like, I mean, we've got to have people like that in our corner. And while you were saying that, I thought about a conversation I had with a girlfriend this week, and she was just talking about another, friendship in her life that she was just feeling like, there was a little bit of distance happening. And she said, man, when I walk away from, hanging out with them, I just feel like I could have done without that. And that just smacked me in the face. I'm like, I never want one of my friends to walk away from a conversation with me feeling like I could have done without that.
Yeah.
Whether it's them coming to me about something going on with them or whether it's me sharing about my marriage or, what my family is going through. I never want someone to feel like they could have done without. I want to be the type of friend that says, I'm here. Ride or die, 2 a.m. I'm knocking at your door, whatever it takes.
Yeah. Yeah. Write those things down. If you're driving in the car, maybe make a mental note. But if you've got the time, man, love, refresh, encourage, and challenge. And I would start by trying to be that friend, right? If you're looking for that friend, I would start by trying to be the friend that you want to have, right? That's kind of like a golden rule, right? And so treat others as you want to be treated. Well, be the kind of friend that you want to be. Be a friend that loves others. Be a friend that tries to refresh others when you're with them. Don't just share what's going on in your day. Don't just make it all about you, but refresh them and encourage them. Hear them out. And then maybe ask, hey, is this something that you just want to get off your chest, or is this something that you'd like me to comment on? Because I'd like to encourage you if I can. And then share some encouragement. Sometimes friends just need to vent, and that's okay. But maybe allow them to vent and then come back later with a text or a call and say, hey, I'm thinking about you and I love you and I want you to know that you're going to make this through and I'm in your corner for whatever you need. And so be that encouragement for somebody else and then challenge them. Say, hey, I do want to challenge you. Maybe think about it this way. Maybe look at it this way. Maybe try this. And again, we don't have to do that every single time. I understand you don't want to be the friend that becomes a critic, right? But you do want to be someone that can challenge somebody else to be better. I am the man that I am because of the friends that I have around me. And because of the friends that have challenged me when I didn't want to be challenged. For the friends that have called me out when I didn't want to be called out. That have told me to look at something differently when I only wanted to see it one way. Those are the friends that made the biggest impact on my life. And those are the friends that we need to be for others.
Yeah. So kind of some practicality around those points. We want friends who love us enough to help us let go of offense when we want to hold a grudge.
That's good.
Friends who refresh us by reminding us to listen instead of lashing out. Friends who encourage us by speaking life over our marriage instead of death over it. And friends who challenge us by challenging us to reach out when we want to pull away.
Man, that's good.
So I think there are many ways that we can do the love, refresh, encourage, and challenge, but those are just some practical ways that you can think about being that type of friend to someone else and what you want to look for in someone that you let into that core, that safe space, and give them the ability and the right to speak into your marriage.
Those godly friends are not going to allow you to live in resentment. They're always going to point you toward reconciliation.
Yes.
They're always going to point you to finding a middle ground and to creating peace, right? To be a peacemaker, not a peacekeeper. Like those are the kind of friends that we want in our life. Those are the kind of friends that breathe life into our marriage. And it's so important. Your marriage is a covenant. It is a big deal. And words are powerful and they matter, and your marriage matters. And so we've got to be very, very careful who we allow in and who we allow to speak into your marriage, because your marriage is sacred and it's holy and it's God ordained. And so we want to make sure that we treat it as that. Sometimes we can treat our marriage relationship as common because it's the most familiar relationship in our lives, right? It's the one that we go home to every night. It's the one that we wake up to every day. And so we can treat it as common. But we need to realize that it's not that, and that it is holy, and that it does matter who we allow to speak in and who we allow even access to some of those critical areas. And because not everyone gets that access. Not everyone gets to know. Not everyone gets to know those things. Some people may ask us questions about our marriage, and it's like, I'm just not comfortable sharing that.
Yeah, and that's okay.
And that's okay. It's okay to not allow everyone in. It's okay to even have friends that you begin to look at and say, you know what, they do not love, refresh, encourage, and challenge me. And so I'm going to continue to allow that to be a friendship. I'm not going to allow it to be a friendship that speaks in my marriage. And if they try, I'm going to speak the truth in love and say, hey, I really appreciate you saying that. That just doesn't apply to me. And I'm just not going to take that because I don't receive that for my marriage. I don't receive what you're saying. And that is not what I needed to hear. I could have done without that. Right?
Right. And I mean, when we get married, the covenant that we make is until death do us part. And so are the people that we are allowing to speak into our marriage, is that their frame of reference too? Is that their end goal? Is reconciliation in your marriage the end goal of your friends? Or is it for you to just win, for you to just feel good, for you to be the one who's right when your spouse is wrong?
Yeah.
If the end goal for your friends is not for your marriage to be reconciled, to be fruitful, I would take a second look at your friends.
Yeah, that's good.
So my mom is one of my best friends, and probably my favorite memory of her is when I was married the first time before I was widowed. We went through a really difficult season, and my parents lived back in St. Louis. We were living halfway across the country in California, and I called her up. We had gone through a really, really hard time, and I was, 19, 20 years old, because I got married at 18, which is just insane. And I called her up, and I was hot. 10 out of 10 hot. Done, ready to throw in the towel. I'm like, Mom, this is what happened. I'm done. I'm booking a flight. I'm coming home. And you know what my mom said to me? No, you're not. Go home, pray with your husband, and work it out. And I was so mad. I was so incredibly mad at my mom because I wanted to be validated. My flesh wanted to be validated. My flesh wanted to be told that he was wrong and I was right. And in that situation, that was the case. He was in the wrong. I was in the right. But that didn't matter because for my mom, the end goal was reconciliation.
Yeah.
And so that's what she pointed me back to. How hard it must have been for her to hear me, her daughter, weeping and crying and knowing that I had been hurt. But still, she cared more about my marriage covenant and me being faithful to that than she cared about me letting my feelings drive the car.
That's so good.
That's the type of friend that we need. That's
Thank
the
God
type of friend
for
I
godly
want to
mothers.
be.
Yeah.
That's the type of mom I want to be.
Yeah. All right, I'll leave you with this verse. The Apostle Paul tells us in Ephesians 4:29, one of my favorite books in the Word of God is his letter to the book at Ephesus, the church at Ephesus. His letter, the beginning book to the church in Ephesus. It says, don't let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. This is very important. That it may be helpful to building up others according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. I think that sometimes we talk just to talk. And it may not be unwholesome, but it may not be benefiting the people that we're talking to.
That's good.
It's like, I'm going to speak the word over you. Hey, let me encourage you real quick. And we say it just to say it because we think we know what to say. I want to make sure that I am discerning, that I am building others up according to their needs, not my need to be heard, not my need to give my opinion, not my need to be validated or to validate them, but what they actually need, not what they want, not what they want to hear,
What they need.
according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen.
Wow.
Sometimes what you want isn't going to benefit you. Sometimes what you need is to hear something that will benefit you that is hard to hear. And that is why we need friends that will challenge us. That is why we need moms that will challenge us. That is why we need people who will say, no, you're not leaving. You're staying. Like, dig your heels in.
Yes.
I know this is hard. You were right in this situation, but guess what? Being right doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because if it ends in divorce, if it ends in brokenness, if it ends in separation, then it's not a win for anybody. What is a win is reconciliation. What is a win is letting God do his work in your marriage. What is a win is having friends that will encourage you in hard times, but will challenge you to be better.
Yeah.
And that's what we need.
So good. All right. How can we make our marriage greater today?
Elevate your inner circle. Are your friends building your marriage up or tearing it down? Are your friends building you up or tearing you down? We're going to say it over and over and over again. Love, refresh, encourage, challenge. Be that type of friend to others and allow that type of friend into your life and pray for those friends. Ask God for those types of friends that will do that for you. And last but not least, be that kind of friend to others. I already said that, but man, when someone comes along hurting, listen to them, right? Have a word in season for them. Guess what? That means you got to be in the word before they get there. Right? And so we have to be full of the word. We have to be able to encourage others in the word, not just in our own opinion, but encourage them with the words of life. And if you can do that, if you can begin to be that friend today, I promise you, God will be faithful to you as you are that friend, as you sow that seed as a friend, and as you sow that seed in prayer, God will bring a mighty harvest to your life of friends that will do the same for you.
Yeah, that's good. Well, that's all the time we have for today, but thank you so much. Hey, would you do us a quick favor if you haven't already? Will you like and subscribe on whatever platform you are on? Hop over to your favorite social media, find us on there, Greater Marriage. Give us a follow on there. We love to interact with you. And also, if there's a friend in your life that just popped up as you were listening to us speak and you're like, man, this person is that friend for me, share this episode with them. Thank them for being that voice of reason in your life. Or if you want to rise to this occasion, send this to a friend and say, hey, this is the type of friend that I want to be for you. Help hold me accountable.
That's good.
Put a little challenge there for yourself and let someone hold you accountable to be that type of friend that I believe the word calls us to be.
I agree.
And as always, if you need any resources, hop over to greatermarriage.com. You can connect with us there. We have some free downloads, some free gifts for you, just to encourage you in your marriage and in your relationships. There are things for marriages. There are also things that you can give to your spouse, that you can personalize, all of that. So we are so grateful that you tuned in with us today. Thanks so much for being here, and we'll talk with you soon.
Go be great.
Oh, do you want to say that?
I did say it. Go be great, you guys.